Amidst the shimmering lights of the Ngumbang Fashion Company's 5th anniversary gala, Zhang Pham stood silently in a secluded corner, still holding a serving tray. Few knew that every stitch of the recently showcased collection, or the elite guest list, had been personally arranged by him. For 5 years he had endured being the shadow behind the scenes, working as an unpaid, all-around assistant to support the woman he loved, Bak Ngumbang. However, the appearance of Tam Hao Vu, Ngumbang's first love who had just returned from abroad, changed everything. To please Hao Vu, Ngumbang did not hesitate to call Zhang Pham to the center of the hall. In front of hundreds of guests, she coldly poured a glass of red wine onto Hao Vu's shoes and looked at Zhang Pham with a command. Zhang Pham, you've scratched a distinguished guest's shoes. Kneel down and wipe them clean right now. Whispers erupted. Typical leech. Aside from serving tea and water, what else can he actually do? Ngumbang looked at him with sheer contempt, as if his existence were a stain on her day of triumph. Zhang Pham looked deep into the eyes of the girl he had once sacrificed his youth to protect. He did not kneel. Instead, he calmly took off his uniform jacket embroidered with the company logo and let it fall into the puddle of wine on the floor. For the past 5 years, I owed you a life, and I have repaid it with my entire career and my youth. From this moment on, Bak Ngumbang, we owe each other nothing. Having said that, he turned his back and walked away amidst everyone's shock. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number that had been blocked for half a decade. Butler Lam, send a car to pick me up. The crown prince of the Jiang family. It's time to go home. The next morning at Ngumbang Fashion headquarters, the atmosphere was not filled with the excitement of last night's gala, but rather an unprecedented chaos. Bak Ngumbang walked into her office looking exhausted, still firmly believing that with just one phone call, Zhang Pham would reappear with her favorite coffee and settle all the issues as he had for the last 5 years. However, the assistant's desk was empty. No coffee, no summary reports, and no meticulously organized schedule. Suddenly, the finance manager rushed in, panicked. Director Bak, all of our largest fabric suppliers have simultaneously sent notices to terminate cooperation. They said they only worked with us because of Mr. Jiang's reputation. Now that he's gone, they don't trust our ability to pay. Before she could recover, Ngumbang's phone vibrated incessantly. It was from VIP clients, people who were actually old family friends of Jiang Pham, whose true identities she had never bothered to learn. They were all withdrawing their orders for the new collection. Shaking, Ngumbang called Zhang Pham, only to receive the message, "The number you have dialed is currently unavailable." She turned to Tam Hao Vu, who was sitting leisurely in her office. "Hao Vu, you said you have extensive connections abroad. Can you help me find new suppliers?" Hao Vu stammered, avoiding her gaze. About that. Actually, those connections take time." In that moment, Ngumbang suddenly realized that for the past 5 years, it wasn't that she was brilliant, but that a giant had been silently carrying her world on his shoulders. And that person had just let go. A sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up in front of the Jiang Group headquarters in Kin Bak. A long line of bodyguards and senior executives stood waiting, bowing respectfully as the car door opened. Zhang Pham stepped out, no longer in his worn-out employee uniform, but in a sophisticated, bespoke suit that exuded the aura of a true heir. His father, Chairman Jiang, patted his son's shoulder with pride. "You've finally returned. 5 years of training in the outside world is enough. Those who don't appreciate you are not worth your effort." Jiang Pham gave a faint smile, his eyes now cold and deep like a winter lake. "Don't worry, Father. I've learned how fickle people can be. From now on, I will only live for our family and those who deserve it." That same evening, an intimate gathering was held at the Jiang Villa to introduce Jiang Pham to the Liu family, the most powerful clan in Kinbok. There he met Lu Nu Yen. Dressed in a pure white silk gown, her intellectual beauty and noble aura made everything else fade into the background. Unlike Bok Nagung Bang's arrogance, Nu Yen looked at him with understanding eyes. "I've heard of the Jiang family's crown prince for a long time, but I didn't expect to meet you like this. Would you like to try a bowl of red sugar tea to warm your heart?" Her words made him pause. A strange sense of warmth crept into his heart, something he had never received in the past 5 years. While Jiang Pham was enjoying the warmth in Kinbok, on the other end, Bok Noom Bang was going through the darkest days of her life. Her fashion company was like a sandcastle, collapsing under relentless waves. Factories went on strike due to unpaid wages. Creditors swarmed the company gates. And even worse, the lead designs for the new collection were accused of plagiarism, something Jiang Pham had always meticulously checked and prevented in the past. Nung Bang turned to Tam Hao Vu as her last lifeline. She pleaded, "Hao Vu, you said your family abroad owns a massive retail chain, right? You just need to sign a product guarantee contract, and my company will be saved." Tam Hao Vu stammered, his usually dashing face now clouded with panic. He muttered, "Nung Bang, actually, the global economic situation is volatile, and my father has temporarily frozen my accounts." At that moment, the office door burst open as a group of men in black suits entered with the police. Leading them was a legal representative from a major financial group. They threw a red folder onto the table. "Ms. Bach, this is an asset freezing order. We are also here to inform you that Mr. Tam is actually a fraudster fleeing debts from abroad. All the luxury cars and watches he used were rentals. Worse, he forged your signature to take out high-interest loans under the name of Nagoon Bang Company." Bok Nagoon Bang stood frozen, turning to look at the man she once regarded as her shining moonlight. Tom Hao Vu's arrogance had vanished. He trembled and tried to bolt but was handcuffed on the spot. It turned out that for 5 years, she had thrown away a real diamond to chase a cracked pebble. In her despair, she unconsciously flipped through an old folder on her desk, finding a faded handwritten note from Jiang Pham. "No matter what happens, I will always be right behind you." Tears of regret streamed down her face, but now there was no longer anyone waiting behind her. In the quiet gardens of the Liu family villa, Jiang Pham and Lu Nu Yen strolled together under the moonlight. The story of the red sugar tea from the previous night still lingered in his mind. He hesitated before asking, "How did you know that I like red sugar tea with a hint of ginger late at night? That's a habit I only developed after the accident 5 years ago." Lu Nu Yen paused, her gaze softening as her hand unconsciously brushed against a small, faint scar on her wrist, usually hidden by her jade bracelet. She softly replied, "Because the person who stayed up all night in that small suburban clinic years ago to cook that tea for you was me." Jiang Pham was stunned. Memories rushed back like a flood. That year, after a horrific accident, a girl had pulled him from a burning car and cared for him throughout the night until the ambulance arrived. When he woke up, the person standing by his side was Bak Num Bang, holding a bracelet he believed to be a token of their bond. Num Bang had claimed she was the one who risked her life to save him. As it turned out, for 5 years, he had owed his gratitude to the wrong person and loved a pretender. Nguyen continued, "I lost my bracelet that night while dragging you out of the car. I intended to go back for it, but I saw another girl had picked it up and claimed to be your savior. Seeing that you were safe and being cared for, I left quietly. I didn't expect that destiny would bring us back together like this." Giang Pham clenched his fists, his indignation at Bak Num Bang's lies reaching a breaking point. Yet at the same time, an overwhelming sense of relief and profound appreciation for Nguyen surged in his chest. To save her company from the brink of bankruptcy, Bak Num Bang spent her last remaining funds and mobilized all her connections to secure a bid for the City of Light project by the Jiang Group. She believed that with her design talent, if she could just meet the person in charge, she would have a chance to turn the tide. Nguyen Bang dressed in her most luxurious outfit, trying to maintain confidence despite the trembling in her heart. Inside the grand hall, she constantly searched for the mysterious young chairman of the Jiang Group, the man rumored in the business world to have just returned from abroad with overwhelming power. When the welcome music played and the large doors opened, the entire hall rose in unison. Bak Num Bang rose as well, but her breath suddenly caught when she saw the man calmly walking toward the highest chairman's seat. It was Giang Pham. He wore an elegant black suit with a cold and majestic aura that was suffocating. Walking beside him, naturally linking arms, was Lu Nguyen. Bak Num Bang was so stunned that she dropped her folder onto the floor, the dry sound echoing in the silent space. Giang Pham glanced down, his eyes stopping on her for only a second, but there was absolutely no emotion, as if he were looking at a complete stranger. At that moment, the host's voice rang out. "Please welcome the new executive chairman of Jiang Group, Mr. Giang Pham." Nguyen Bang collapsed into her seat, realizing that the man she once looked down upon like dirt was now the sky she could never reach. After the bidding session, Bak Nguyen Bang refused to leave. She waited in the VIP lobby, hoping to intercept Giang Pham and explain herself. When the elevator doors opened, she rushed forward but was immediately blocked by bodyguards. Lu Nguyen signaled them to step back, looking at Nguyen Bang with a calm yet powerful gaze. Nguyen Bang spoke tremblingly. "Giang Pham, you can't be this heartless. I was wrong about the last 5 years, but my company is the lifeblood of both of us. Can you really bear to watch it go bankrupt?" Before Giang Pham could answer, Nguyen smiled. A smile devoid of mockery, yet intensely humiliating for Nguyen Bang. Nguyen spoke leisurely. "Ms. Bak, you are mistaken. The lifeblood was Giang Pham's. You were merely the beneficiary. A woman who valued a fraud like Tom Hao Vu over the man who always protected her is in no position to discuss lifeblood." Nguyen Bang tried to argue, but Nguyen continued. "You used a Class C pass to enter here, while Giang Pham is the one who wrote the rules of this entire auction." The gap between you and him now isn't just about money. It's about integrity and vision. Stop bothering my fiancée Every second of his time now is for building a future with me, not for listening to your belated apologies. Jiang Pham gently took Nguyen's hand, without even glancing at Ngung Bang once, and led her away. Bak Ngung Bang stood frozen in the grand hall, realizing she hadn't just lost a lover, but the entire world she thought she once ruled. Bak Ngung Bang still clung to her last ray of hope, the token of love bracelet, and the life-saving favor from years ago. She sought out the press conference for Jiang Group's new project, recklessly rushing onto the stage while reporters were working. She wailed, "Jiang Pham, you can forget 5 years of feelings, but you cannot forget that night. If I hadn't risked my life to pull you out of that burning car, you wouldn't be alive today. Are you a man who repays kindness with enmity?" The entire room buzzed, and cameras swiveled towards Jiang Pham. He stood up, his expression unchanged, and signaled to the large screen behind him. An old video, extracted from the dash cam of a car passing by the accident scene 5 years ago, appeared clearly. In the video, a slender girl, despite an injury to her arm, used all her strength to drag Jiang Pham out of the wreckage. As the car exploded, she shielded him. And the face of that girl, as she turned to look at the approaching ambulance, was Liu Nguyen. Bak Ngung Bang froze, her face turning pale as a ghost. Jiang Pham took the microphone, his voice echoing through the hall. "Miss Bak, the bracelet you picked up was just a physical object, but the trust you stole is something that can never be compensated for. For 5 years you used lies to trade for my devotion. Now, everything returns to its rightful place." Liu Nguyen stepped forward, showing the faint scar on her wrist to the cameras. "Kindness is not a tool for transaction, and the truth can never be buried." In front of millions of live viewers, Bak Ngung Bang was escorted away by police on charges of fraud and illegal asset appropriation. After the shocking press conference, a butterfly effect swept away everything belonging to Bak Ngung Bang. Within 24 hours, the stock of Ngung Bang Fashion Company lost all its value. Her parents, who used to boast everywhere about their talented daughter and their obedient future son-in-law, now had to hide from creditors and the press. The family villa they lived in was officially sealed by the bank, as it was collateral for Tam Hao Vu's high-interest loans. In the detention center, Bak Ngung Bang completely broke down as she faced the truth about her shining moonlight. Tam Hao Vu no longer had his elegant appearance. He screamed and shifted all the blame onto her in hopes of a reduced sentence. He admitted that he had targeted her from the beginning because he knew she had an exceptionally talented assistant, Jiang Pham, backing her, and he planned to swindle a large sum of money before fleeing. Ngung Bang looked at the coward in front of her, feeling nothing but utter disgust and regret. At the same time, Jiang Pham stood on the top floor of the Jiang Group building, silently looking down at the city lights. He didn't feel triumphant, only a strange sense of serenity. He had bought back all of Ngung Bang's old garment factories, not to save her, but to provide job opportunities for the honest workers she once looked down upon. Liu Nguyen walked up beside him, gently taking his hand. "All debts from the past have been settled. Now we have only bright days ahead." The night rain in Kinback poured down relentlessly, blurring the vibrant neon lights. In front of the Jiang family villa's gate, a thin, haggard figure knelt on the cold stone ground. It was Bak Ngung Bang. After being released on bail, she had nowhere left to go. Her family was shattered, her reputation ruined. The only thing she had left was a heart-wrenching regret. She cried out in desperation. "Jiang Pham, I was wrong. Please, just come out and see me once. I don't need money. I just want you back like before." But the only response was the rumbling thunder and the eerie silence of the cold iron gates. Inside the villa, the atmosphere was warm, filled with the faint scent of lavender. Jiang Pham stood by the window, looking at the white curtain of rain, but his eyes remained calm without a single ripple. Lu Nu-yen walked over, draped a warm cardigan over his shoulders, and handed him a cup of hot ginger tea. She softly asked, "Do you want me to ask the guards to send her away?" Jiang Pham turned around, took Nu-yen's warm hand, and gently shook his head. "There's no need. The person standing in that rain died in my heart the night she poured wine on someone else's shoes just to humiliate me. Now, in my world, there is only you." He drew the curtains closed, completely cutting off the sight of his past. Outside, Bak Nagung Bang collapsed into a puddle, realizing that some people, once they turn their backs, can never be found again. In the spacious and modern kitchen of the Jiang family villa, the late-night air was not cold, but filled with warmth. Lu Nu-yen was meticulously shaping small glutinous rice balls for the red sugar ginger tea. Jiang Pham stood beside her, watching her silhouette. This sense of peace was something he hadn't experienced in the past 5 years. He gently wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Thank you for always waiting for me." Nu-yen smiled, lifting a small rice ball to his lips. "Try this. Does it taste like the bowl from 5 years ago?" Jiang Pham took a bite. The subtle sweetness of the red sugar blended with the spicy kick of old ginger, warming his entire chest. He suddenly realized that happiness isn't always about grand gestures, but about having someone who understands and cherishes your smallest habits. The next morning, all of Kin Bok was shaken by the news of the engagement of the century between the Jiang and Liu families. The invitations were exquisitely designed, with the symbol of 2 interlocking rings. Unlike Bak Nagung Bang's previous loud and flashy displays, every preparation Jiang Pham made for Nu-yen was subtle and profound. He founded a charitable fund in her name to support traffic accident victims, his way of honoring the true savior of his life. Meanwhile, in a dark corner of the city, Bak Nagung Bang saw their happy photo on a giant screen, bitterly realizing she had forever lost the place that should have been hers. The altar was decorated with tens of thousands of pure white roses, symbolizing a fresh and pristine beginning. Jiang Pham stood at the end of the red carpet, his gaze never wavering from the girl walking toward him. Lu Nu-yen, in her magnificent wedding gown, exuded nobility and happiness with every step. As her father handed her hand to Jiang Pham, he whispered softly, "Thank you for saving me again. Not from the fire this time, but from the darkness of betrayal." Amidst the celebratory applause of the Kin Bok elite, they exchanged a vow and a kiss. In a distant corner of the city, Bak Nagung Bang, now penniless, was working in a small garment factory to make ends meet. Seeing the wedding photos in an old newspaper, she burst into uncontrollable tears. She once had everything: a man who loved her unconditionally and a bright future. But her own greed and lies had pushed her into the abyss. Meanwhile, Tom Hao-vu remained behind bars, facing his darkest days for the crimes he committed. The story concludes on the balcony of the Jiang Villa on a quiet night. Jiang Pham and Nu Yen looked out over the city together. He realized that the best revenge isn't causing pain to others, but living a life that is far more radiant and happy than theirs. On the table, 2 bowls of red sugar ginger tea were still steaming. Its sweetness was no longer just a habit, but the flavor of true fulfillment.
Thank you so much for watching today's video until the very end. Your presence is the greatest gift to me. Every view and every moment you spend here is a huge motivation for me to keep improving and releasing higher quality content in the future. Creating content isn't easy, but your silent support gives me the strength to stay creative every day. If you found today's video interesting and relaxing, please don't hesitate to give me a like. Your small actions are the most precious recognition of our team's